Yeah, two days after the conversation, actually a day after the conversation with Nicole, we had our workshop, and I think this was in May. And Patty told me something big needs to change, and we had a workshop, and we had this exercise at the end of it, or in the middle of it, where she said, Sam, here's your purpose, why don't you stand in relation to the purpose? And I stood right by the purpose. And then she asked the team to arrange themselves around the purpose. And what was cool was, no one ran into the corner of the room, which would have been a really bad sign. Everyone kind of lined up behind me, which felt good in a way, but it also felt lonely because I'm standing here and I have this big line of people behind me, some of them hugging each other. So it was like a cool moment, but also like, okay, yeah, this is exactly what I've created, which is, I'm marching off into the wilderness and everyone's trekking behind me. And Nicole asked, well, what would you like to have happen? I said, well, it's kind of lonely up here. So people started to step up. And it was really interesting to see who did step up. Because the people who stepped up have actually stepped up in the company since then. And then everyone kind of gets online, and Patty's also there. But I could tell and he just told me he might be leaving. I didn't know. I could tell he was quite emotional and hesitant about where his role was in the company. But people were stepping up. And then after that, Nicole said, well, can anyone think of a way to rearrange this better? And someone put me in the back of the room. And so I'm standing behind the team looking at them. What I realized was they can handle this without me. I don't need to be out in front the whole time. I can start to lead from the back, as it were, which is totally antithetical. As an Army officer, we hated the people who didn't go out on the front lines. Like, if you're a commander and you didn't put yourself in danger, you were not a real commander. You were we had words for that I can't really express right now. But it made me realize this isn't the Army, this is business. And yes, I need to always be willing to get my hands dirty, but I need to also empower people and put them up front. And I've always believed in that, but I wasn't obviously doing that by the way the team was arranging itself. And then there was one more move where Marek, one of our videographers at the time, came back and he was filming, but somehow he put the camera down, or he said, hey, I got one more thing. And he said, Sam, turn around. So he turned me around, so I couldn't even see the team. My back was to the team, and they were all in front of me, behind me, to the purpose. And Nicole said, how's that feel? And I said, that's great. I think I'm going to take a vacation. And after that workshop, Patty just told me things need to change. I knew I was going to lose them sooner or later. And then we're standing there, in a line, and I realized something's got to change. And just the idea of that exercise and the memory of it and the emotions attached to it. Nicole says, how does that feel? And I'm not a very expressive person either, but I remember feeling, quite a bit of pride in the team, because when the members stepped up and Nicole asked people to step up and put me in the back, Casper stepped up to the front, and Vadim, they were like, fighting each other to be in the front. And Vadim relented because Casper had been with the team for a while. But now those are my leaders of my team. Casper's head of our video team, Vadim's head of the Kiev office. So the way people were organizing themselves and expressing what they wanted to be, in nothing to do with words, was way more powerful. There was quite an emotional moment at the front when it was like Patty was handing the baton off to the new generation, because he knew he was leaving. Maybe not then. He ended up leaving, I think, several months later. But he knew it wasn't his thing to keep managing us forever. He loved the team. That's probably why he stuck around as long as he did. But for me, it was a really powerful moment. And I remember a week later, I sat down with Patty and I said, I'm going to move to Kiev. So from that exercise, I realized I don't need to be in the office to supervise the team. And I didn't know it at the time why I was moving to Kiev, but I just knew something, just intuition, or like something spoke to me strongly, because I've taught Ukrainian history and I've been interested in traveling there and moving. Okay, I can. And I can do well by the company by setting up a new office, a customer service team that I knew we needed. And in the process of going to Kiev, I just decided because I had space, I looked at the business much more objectively. I came back to Warsaw for workshops, but I was there setting things up. I had space. I started running again. I started being more clear-headed. And I just made much better decisions about the business. I decided to restructure the business, which Patty told me I needed to do. For months, he'd been telling me that. And I finally did that because of that workshop. So I can't imagine that intervention in the workshop. I can't imagine the company without that intervention with Patty, hearing what I needed to hear. And then the workshop that showed me the path, which was disconnecting myself from the day-to-day, and then going and doing it. It certainly was a powerful intervention.